Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So you already know what tutorial you're about to see. First things first, I decided to show you guys the wig cap. I noticed a lot of you like the cap I use for my videos. So here it is. It's really comfortable, easy to use and all that. And the next thing is the mesh or the net I'm going to be placing on top on the crown area of the wig cap. It comes in different shades and I use whichever shade suits the person wearing the wig. Now you can get this at a clothing material store or hair product store. The next thing I'm doing here is placing the mesh on the wig cap, on the crown area of the wig cap. And if you notice, I'm placing the side with the two ends at the back. And then I'm doing so because at the end when I get to cut off the mesh, I will still have one piece of mesh and not two separate pieces of mesh. You get that kind of stuff. Now I'm just sewing the mesh on the crown area, and very soon you guys are going to see the method I use in sewing the net on the wig cap. I sew it in a way the thread doesn't get to show, and you're about to see what I'm talking of here now. So this folding you're about to see me do, or this folding you're seeing me do on the mesh, is a must because the shape of the crown area of the wig cap is not straight, you get, it's curved. So at some point, at any point of your sewing, you must fold it. And I use the T-pin in folding it. Usually I would put the folding at the back if I wasn't using a closure. But because I'm using a closure and I'm still going to cut the under part of the closure, I'm putting the folding at the front, so that by the time I'm done and I cut the parts under the closure off, one wouldn't see this folded part. Now you can see how I am sewing it. Now you can see how I'm sewing the mesh on the wig cap. I'm doing so in a way the thread is almost invisible. I turn off the lights, I got off the wires. When I close my eyes. As you sew, try and smoothen the mesh on the wig cap so that by the time you're done, you're going to have a smooth crown area of the wig cap. So I should point out that I always sew a mesh on the crown area of this type of wig cap I'm using for any braided wig, and I do so because I feel the main net on the crown area of the wig cap isn't strong enough to withstand any force that might come with, you know, the tugging and all that stuff that comes with making braid. It's just fire. Wrong, but I made it right. You came begging day and night. I don't wanna hit the bottom. Don't go out of your state of mind. I've been counting 1 to 10. I'll be back when you be dim. So now I have my crown area all prepped. You can see how smooth it is. The next thing I'm doing is to, clean up the beneath of the wig cap, cutting off the excess of the mesh on the wig cap, cleaning it up. And after that, I am securing the wig cap on the mannequin with T-pins. So here is the kinky braid we're using. And for the lower part of the braid, I am dividing the kinky braid into 2 halves. The kinky braid I use is Noble Gold Kinky braid. So here I'm stretching out the kinky braid so the tips are not blunt, and so it's a little bit long because of the length I want the wig to have. Now you need to make sure the 2 sides are equal, the length of the 2 sides are equal. Now I am going to show the difference between how to twist a can-color braid and how a kinky braid is twisted. As you can see here, as I start out twisting, I start by twisting one end of the braid, and after that is twisted, on the other end I twist it as well before I then do the main twist. Now this is how a can-color braid is done. You twist both strands and then do the main twist. So that, because in the previous video I only just explained it but I didn't show, and I've noticed some people really like to see what they are being taught rather than it just being described. So that's why I'm trying to put out the difference here. The two strands of Kelon hair are being twisted first before I then do the main twist, but that is different for a kinky braid, and that I'm going to show you guys soon. So here I am trying to fill up the crown area of the wig, and if you notice, I am not twisting each end of the kinky braid like I did for the cankelon. Rather, I am stretching and then flipping. I'm not going to use the word twist, so there's no mistake here. For kinky braid, for the purpose of kinky braid, I'm going to use the word flip. So I am stretching both ends and then flipping them to achieve that bouncy look I want it to have. Now, usually these kinky braids come tangled and sponged in some areas, so wherever I notice such sponging, I try to detangle them like I'm doing so right now, so it's smoothened out, and then I continue with my flipping process. And then to trim the tips, I always make use of razor blade rather than scissors to make sure the tip still maintains its curly nature. Always stretch after every twist, it ensures its bounciness. So now you guys have seen the difference in the techniques used in twisting a cankelon braid and a kinky braid. I'm just going to go right ahead and continue, with the whole wig process, steps and all that stuff. So just stick through with me till the end of this video so you don't miss anything out, because guys, I'm showing it all. I'm leaving no detail out. There are a lot of questions I got in the previous video, so I am trying my possible best to answer every question here, and hopefully I leave no one out this time around. So here, once again, I am stretching the kinky braid so it doesn't have blunt tips, and the length is a little long. So as you can see, I have 7 strands here, but hey, I'm not trying to count the number of strands I have on my wig. No, the idea here is that these 5 below make up the first layer. I felt making this layer by layer will make it easier. You get that kind of something. And if you've seen my videos, you would know when it comes to braid, I like to start with the back being scanty, and then I come back when I'm done with the front to fill up the back area. Now what I am pointing out here is where I'm going to be putting each strand of braid. Like every strand of braid is going to come in between 2 below it. So I am done with the second layer, and if you notice, you see that every strand on the second layer came in between 2 strands below it. Like it came in between 2 strands on the first layer. So the process is continuing. I'm going on to the third layer, and it's the same thing here. But one thing I would like to point out here is, as you progress with the process of making the wig, the spaces between each braid on a layer will become smaller. If you notice, the first layer, second layer and third layer, the spaces are kind of like wide apart, but as you progress, the spaces will become smaller. Now for this fourth layer, I use the kinky braid like it is. I did not share it, I did not divide it into 2. And I would also like to point out that try as much as possible not to detangle so much, because that detangling could end up making the braid longer than it's supposed to be. That is what happened to me here. I was trying to detangle the tip area, which can come really tangled, and in the process I stretched the kinky braid longer than it should have been, and you see the length came out really long. But that wasn't an issue because I what is that word now? I trimmed it with a razor blade. Now this process, this thing I'm doing trimming, should never be done with a scissors, because scissors will just make it blunt. Instead, use a razor blade and scrape. You get scrape, or whatever word best suits this situation here. So now we're on the 5th layer. I don't know, does this layer thing sound lame? Well, I don't know. This thing, as far as I'm concerned, this thing I'm doing here is like teaching, and I think every teacher has their different way of passing an information across. So now we're on layer number 7. That is the crown area. The beginning of the crown made it my 7th layer, and as you can see, the space between each braid on the 7th layer is really close. It's not as wide apart as the space in the layers below. So this is it here, guys. Oh my goodness. This doctrine I work. So yes, it's obvious that the back is looking scanty, but that shouldn't be an issue, because when I'm done with the front, I'll definitely come back to fill up the areas and to even give me a better insight of where I should fill, where I should add braids and where I shouldn't add. So here is the closure I'm using. You can see I secure the closure with T-pins virtually everywhere, in the front, the sides, the back, everywhere. This will help me when I'm sewing, so the sewing comes out proper, you get. Now I used a black closure because, man, I checked the few shops I could check and I didn't see this brown shade of the kinky I used, so I just went ahead with the black. So here you can see I have sewn the closure to the crown area, and I've done the 8th layer as well, and I followed that same pattern of each braid falling in between 2 braids below it, which is what I'm demonstrating here. Yes, every braid on top is falling in between 2 braids that are below it. So at this point, I'm removing all the T-pins I used in securing the wig cap, so I can easily move the wig cap to whichever direction I want to work on. Like presently, I'm trying to work on this part here, so I push the wig cap towards that direction, so it will be easy for me to work on. Now, when it comes to working on the crown area, especially as you've added the mesh or the net, the extra net on the wig cap, you need to make sure the crochet pin passes through the whole net. That's like the main wig cap net and the mesh nets. And if it means you even pulling off the crown area so that the crochet pin passes thoroughly, you do so. So I've just finished the 9th layer, and I did half of the closure part off camera. So here I'm going to show you guys how I am. Peep, peep, peep. This is that part where I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Alright, jokes over. Now this closure came with baby hairs, which I kept aside, but I later cut it off because the woman I was making it for was obviously not going to want to look into all this baby hair stuff and all of that. So here now I parted the other side of the closure the way I did the side I had done off camera, to give you guys a better understanding, better illustration of what I am doing and what I did. So for each portion I shared the hair into, I made 3 strands out of them. So like this first portion I'm about to work on presently, I am going to make 3 strands of braid out of it, which is the same thing I did for the other side of the closure that I did off the camera. So here I'm doing the first strand, and if you notice, you will see the other hair is enough to give me 2 strands. Now the technique for making the kinky braid on the human hair closure is quite different because obviously the textures are different. Please take note of what I am doing here. As you can see, I turned the other two sides 2 times before I passed my finger through them, and I did so that the braid or the human hair would not slip from my finger. The turning of the kinky braid 2 times on one part was to really secure it on my finger. And then what I am doing here is I am doing the box braiding method. I'll just do it a little before I then twist the kinky. Now the initial twisting I'm going to do on this kinky is going to be the cankelon technique of twisting. So I'm just going to slow down a bit here so this voiceover will catch up with the action on the video. So as you can see here, the two strands that contain the human hair, I'm bringing them together and I am twisting the way I would twist a cankelon braid. If you remember earlier in the video, I'll twist each strand before I then do the main twist. Then after I do it a little while, as you can see here, I'm on twisting now because I want to go back to the kinky method of twisting. You can see I untwisted that twist I did to each strand so as to achieve the bounciness I wanted for the kinky braid. So I hope you guys understood it. So basically the cankelon method of twisting I employed here at the early stage of the twisting was so that the human hair would really stay with the kinky braid because the textures are different. So it can be difficult if you don't apply that method. Now after doing so, you need to still drag, but this time around you're holding from where the main twist begins, and you would notice the natural human hair might pop out at the early stage of the twist. If you're not comfortable with that, gently pull it out and then twist into the kinky braid. In doing so, you would also need to twist the human hair like I'm doing so. So you twist and twist into the braid. You get? I hope I'm making sense. So you're twisting the human hair and, should I use the word, wrapping it around the kinky braid. Hey. I must have been a teacher in my previous life. There's actually anything like that. So for every strand you pull out, you'd twist or wrap into the kinky braid, and you can see, guys, it is all blended in now. Now there might still be that part of the human hair that will pop out, but you can just ignore it. That really doesn't matter. So now I'm going ahead and repeating the same step for the other two strands. So at this point I have done the major part of the other side of the closure, and it's just this part remaining here, which I would braid in a way it will fall back. And as you can see, the back area still needs some filling up, which I mentioned earlier that I'm going to come back to fill up. You would notice the lower part of the braid is looking scantier than the top part. I will definitely come back to fill that place up so it will balance out. So here, that is the way I shared the back side of the closure so that it will fall back. And then I also made 3 strands out of the 2 portions, 3 strands below, 3 strands on top here. So the strands of braid I made from the back part of the closure obviously didn't fill up the recap well, so I went back in with the kinky braid and passed it through the closure net and through the main recap net. So basically, just fill up the wig like it's supposed to. So you don't finish, guys. This is it. We've come to the end, basically. Clap for me, clap for yourself for staying true. Thank you. I forgot to film this part for the kinky braid, and I'm sorry about that. So I decided to use similar videos that would show the information I'm trying to pass across. I cut the material under the closure, and that is the band I used for the wig. Okay. Flames and fire, I know you are done So you can go ahead and accessorize your kinky braids like I did in this previous tutorial. Well, I forgot to do so presently, so pardon me, but I think it still looks good even without the accessories. But if you feel you want to accessorize your own, of course, feel free, do whatever rocks your belt. I think I prefer the part. Okay, let me go return the hair to the owner. That's that.